The Logitech G203 LightSync is a budget gaming mouse by a reputable brand that has 6 programmable buttons, DPI that can go as high as 8000, and a polling rate of 1000 Hz. It has a 2.1 meter long cable, weighs 85 grams, has an ambidextrous design, and can support a wide amount of mouse grip styles. If you want to know more, chapters are available below, and stick around after the TLDW. TLDW, this is a very solid gaming mouse at a very cheap price. It doesn't feel cheap, and it's actually very good performance-wise. It starts at $30 US or 1,070 pesos. The mouse buttons are very light, and I find it easy to accidentally double tap with them. I have experienced double clicking issues on this mouse, but it's on occasion. The issue also only really started after a year and a half of use, and it doesn't actually always double click. I have huge hands, so I use this with the claw grip, and I don't feel my hand cramping up after hours upon hours of gaming with it. It's also a widely modded mouse that has multiple shells available if you have a 3D printer, or change the mouse switches if you prefer better ones. If you want a no-nonsense mouse that gets the job done, this is the mouse for you. If you want to hear me talk about it a little more, stick around for the full review. To start off, let me say this isn't a professional review. I don't have any testing equipment, so this is just my experience on the mouse and what I've observed with it. The G203 is a medium-sized mouse, I would say. Fits with any size kind of hand and isn't uncomfortable at all. At 85 grams, it's personally at a fair weight for my taste because moving around with it doesn't feel like I'm flicking with a brick, but also not light enough where I accidentally throw it off the table. As mentioned in the intro, the mouse is ambidextrous, so if you can game on the left hand, this mouse can comfortably do that. Logitech doesn't explicitly say what the sensor is in this mouse, but after some research, it apparently uses an 1855 sensor with a max polling rate of 1000 Hz and DPI that can range from between 200 and 8000. Inside of the box, all you get is the mouse, and sorry that I don't have footage, but it's literally just the mouse. The G203 comes in 4 different color variants: blue, black, lilac, and white. The shell is completely plastic, with the Logitech G symbol and a strip along the shell that shines through the RGB through. We'll talk more about the LightSync RGB in the con section of the video. The cable is just plain rubber, but I think that's fine since it doesn't feel cheap or flimsy. In short, it's a very well constructed mouse and has a decent amount of features for the price. There is a similar looking model called the G102. From my research, I found that there are some slight differences, but none that would make any reasonable impact between the two. G203 is the model that was initially released for the West, and G102 for everyone else. But for the sake of getting something new, the G203 is more up to date and is probably supported better. Before we get on with the games, I'm testing this on 800 DPI, and my usual sensitivity on games is between 1 to 2, with vertical multipliers applied on certain games. And of course, mouse acceleration is turned off. Starting off, we have Counter-Strike 2 and Rainbow Six Siege. I'm not the best FPS player. I've honestly fallen off my peak, but playing with this mouse feels great. I can get fairly accurate with this mouse, and I don't find myself over-swiping or under-swiping. I can get my mouse on target where I want it to be, so making tiny adjustments to my aim isn't a problem, and I can properly adjust my spray control to actually hit the target. For slower-paced games like team-based shooters or tactical FPS, this mouse does absolutely fine, and I didn't notice any glaring issues. Now to ULTRAKILL, a boomer shooter style of game to represent the more arcadey fast types of shooters. Flicking my mouse really fast from one spot to another to require new targets, this mouse does well, and the sensor tracks my movements perfectly. It doesn't stutter if I swipe too far or too fast, and the mouse glides just fine on my mousepad. My grip on the mouse also didn't make it an uncomfortable experience, even after long gaming sessions. The same can be said for other genres of games. For strategy games, everything's precise, and not once did I feel like I made a misclick or brought my troops out of position. For the 0.1% of you people that care about VNs and how it does there, it works fine. It works alright. Overall, after a year of use, this mouse still feels like new. I've gotten used to the lighter mouse clicks, and at stock settings, this mouse is very serviceable and I don't see it breaking anytime soon. The mouse switches don't feel worn and don't noticeably lag or feel delayed. I haven't gotten any weird disconnection issues on my end yet, or any weird bugs, so durability so far is great. The only wear you can see is on the coating. You can see the shiny wear in the plastic where my fingers and palm are usually located on this mouse, but for a year of mostly perfect operation, aesthetic wear is something I would gladly allow. Now for the cons. Let's start with the double clicking. Let me say that currently it's been a few months since the last time it double clicks. I work with Photoshop on a daily basis with this thing, and on some occasions it did inconvenience me. There were also some instances where I do stuff on my desktop, like trying to drag select a bunch of things and it wouldn't work. Or I would press a folder once and it pops open because of the double clicking. Like I said, it hasn't double clicked in months and I have no idea why it works fine now. Next, the mouse click is incredibly loud. I'd say it's as loud as a Gateron blue click on a keyboard. In games, you won't notice the sound, especially if you're playing with headphones, but I wouldn't recommend using this mouse if you have a roommate or work with other people in an office. Moving on, there's a much bigger and glaring issue, the RGB. This thing is so annoyingly bright that on the first time I tested this mouse at night, it was actually distracting. In times when you're waiting for a match or just watching a video, or when your hand's just not over it, you will notice the RGB. So if you play in the dark like I do, you'll most likely have to just get used to it or download the G-Hub to disable it. Speaking of G-Hub, you need to download that to change features. Things like setting up game-specific settings or just adjusting the RGB so it doesn't shine as bright as the sun. Personally, I don't like installing extra software just to change things, so as much as possible, I just keep my experience raw and judge performance there. Finally, the screws are found under the skates, so if you need to repair this mouse, you'll need to carefully remove these or risk a scratching sound whenever you swipe your mouse on your mousepad, or not have any skates at all, which might impact how it glides. It was honestly very tough to talk about this mouse. Why? Because it's a very standard mouse. It's got the bare minimum amount of bells and whistles, and it's not overbuilt or underbuilt too. Now there's a lot of mice around this price range, so the question is, why get this mouse? If you're looking for a baseline solid mouse that won't fail on you after many years, this is a solid choice. Now, full honesty, I like Logitech products, but I don't have a bias for them because I've had stuff that failed or started malfunctioning at unreasonable times. If there's one thing I can vouch for the company though, it's that their products are amazingly durable and can last for years. To the point, the Logitech G203 is durable, performs well, and is cheap, and that might just be what you need. That's all to the video. Thank you for reaching up to this point, and I hope you find my video informative. There's not a lot to talk about this mouse, and this script went through a lot of revisions before I was satisfied with it. Anyway, that's all. Once again, thank you for hearing me out, and visit my coffee for my outtakes. And I'll see you all in the next one.